Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hey guys, first off, if you haven't gotten a chance yet, you got to go check out the video that I did with Mike with Truth Theory. Truth Theory, he's got 1.9 million followers on Facebook, and he's got almost 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. And if you go to Exit the Matrix, you'll find some posts I've been doing on with the link to the video that we did, and or you could go to the Truth Theory podcast on YouTube. And I'll be getting my own version of that video here to drop on this YouTube channel. So we did a 2.5 hour marathon video, and we touched on just ancient origins, on spirituality, energy healing, all kinds of subjects. I mean, we went deep, a little bit on Gnosticism and biblical stuff, the Book of Enoch, the Sumerian, Akkadian, cuneiform. We went very deep on a lot of stuff, and I honestly, because of the length of the video and the awesome questions that Mike was asking, I was able to really go over my theory of everything, essentially. Not every topic I would want to touch on, but if you listen to that video in its entirety, folks, you will get a lot of stuff tied together, and just that video alone will put you above 95% of people on Earth and their understandings of this reality. So it's well worth your watch to go check it out. We're going to be doing a part 2 also. Mike enjoyed the interview so much, we resonated with each other so much, that we're going to do another round together. So it'll be interesting to see what we talk about in that part 2. But it's well worth your time, folks. And honestly, this is the information that we need to know as humanity as a whole, because it's time to wake up. And this kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about this morning on my way to work. And that is that this is a very important time. It's talked a lot of people that do channeling, people that have spiritual intuition, and you look at even just stuff like Revelation in the Bible, and you look at other ancient texts and manuscripts, you'll find that it's all everything kind of comes down into a culmination of this time, and that we're getting ready to go into a new age. And this is talked about by the Hindus and the Yuga cycles. And of course in Revelation it talks about the golden age, 1,000 years of essentially freedom for spirits in the earth realm, without the being controlled and manipulated by the dark entities, by the dark forces. And you can see it right now, folks. I mean, with this push for AI, this crossroads we have between humanity being able to develop to its highest level, or us giving all of our power away to AI and robotics, where we become enslaved by transhumanism. And of course, this is all laid out in the movie trilogy Terminator and in the movie trilogy The Matrix. And that is because the same writer, the real writer of both those stories, they were meant to go together. It was supposed to be all one story. And that'll kind of mess with your mind a little bit when you start thinking about that. But you chose to come here at this time. You did. When people cross over to the other side and during NDEs and OBEs, they're always told on the other side that we chose to come here. This isn't like God forces us to come to earth, and we have one choice, and we go to heaven or hell depending on, how we live here and who we worship and who we ask, forgiveness through and such. It's not like that, folks, at all. That's all religious dogma. It's all religious BS, to be honest. It's all to put you in a fear matrix, into a mind-based, fear control system. Mind-based fear trauma. Whatever you want to call it, it don't matter. It's essentially the same thing. If you fear your soul's going to get wiped out and you're not going to go to heaven and you're going to hell while your family members may go to heaven, or maybe some you think deserve to go to hell, that's all BS, folks. It's all to control and manipulate you. We've always been manipulated in this realm. And the reason is because the entities that rule this realm, they fear us. Every time their BS gets seen through, they come up with another way to try to enslave us. And right now, it just happens to be transhumanism. And they're going to force it on us. They're already putting the mechanisms in our bodies to bring about their Internet of Everything, to directly connect us into a, you could call it Skynet, just like in the Terminator movie. But that is what they are doing to us. This is all planned. It's all being orchestrated as if it's being ran like a play, like a playbook. And of course, because it is. And the elite have been planning this for thousands of years. See, what most people don't realize is these people that rule this realm, let's just talk about the human puppets, because that's the face. Those are the characters that are on the front end of this. They have been initiated into the mystery schools. Most of them have. And that happens through the secret societies that they join, or that they are sought after to join. That they get invited in. And a lot of times it has to do with what family you come from, what bloodline. They find them in college, and they get them into these secret societies in college, and frats and sororities. And it's the same thing. Some of those are just different levels of initiation. However, the ones that really matter, that do have a lot of power, get initiated into the mystery schools. And I want you to understand, folks, the mystery schools are not evil. And in fact, the mystery schools were a positive thing in the past. They were meant to enlighten humanity about the reality of this realm and the rules of this realm through the Hermetic teachings. However, what we always find is that everything gets corrupted in this realm, and it gets hijacked, and what was meant to be good gets turned into something meant to enslave us. They do this time and time again. It's a never-ending cycle, it seems. And the problem is that humanity never wakes up as a whole. They are able to easily distract most of humanity. It seems that throughout history, enlightenment and revolutions are always based on just about 5% of people that are awake, that see through the BS, and that try to wake everybody else up. And sometimes it happens. But then these world controllers, they always figure out a way to reel everybody back in. And that was quite clear in the Bible, in the Tower of Babel. And yes, the Tower of Babel story is in the Sumerian cuneiform. And of course, it was manipulated and twisted, just like everything, to lie to us, to control us, to manipulate us, to put us in fear. You're told biblically that evil humanity was working together, all in one voice and all together, to try to overthrow God. And it was so evil. Oh, yeah. This loving God, the Lord of hosts, the Lord of war. This jealous God that claims, I do great good and I do great evil. That amazing God. Oh yes, he was so afraid of humanity, building this Tower of Babel and daring to stand up against him and his powers, his principalities. Well, folks, there's a lot more to that story than's been told. And in fact, it's been flipped upside down. And in fact, you've been the one lied to and manipulated by this demiurge, by this devil of this realm that rules with an iron rod and an iron fist. And his archons are constantly on the prowl to drain your energy, to suck you dry. And his angels put on the front that some of them are good and some of them are bad, and that they are also manipulating you in this war of division. Well, folks, the sad part about the Tower of Babel, if you even just take the biblical version without the Sumerian, you'll realize that for once humanity came together and worked together. And they understood that these rulers of this realm were devils, and they were trying to overcome them. And that's why they had to be destroyed. That's why they had to be scattered. That's why humanity had to be pushed into all the four corners of the earth and had to come up with new languages and new ways to communicate with each other. And it caused different separate cultures and division amongst the human family. That was all to control us, folks. Yes, that loving God you so also worship blindly without ever even, this is what irritates me about most religious people. They don't actually study what they believe in. They just listen to what Pastor Dan tells them every Sunday. That's all that's all. They're lazy. Absolute lazy and pathetic, folks, because they told you that trying to find knowledge, to try to understand this realm, to find gnosis, was a bad thing. They tricked you into thinking that you just need to be a dumb sheep. You're a dumb animal, a dumb sheep. Just wait to be told what to do, wait to be shepherded. Folks, you've all been manipulated, and it is so... To me, it's aggravating trying to bring people along this path, because the religious dogma is really strong. And the reason I get so upset about this, folks, is because my brothers and sisters on the right side of the aisle are open and awake to a lot of stuff. But yet, their religion manipulates them and lies to them, and yet they don't see this simple truth. Oh, they can rail on against the leftists and their ridiculous communistic views, which obviously they are communists. It's not hard to tell. They're globalists and communists at heart, and that's what they resonate with. Their God is government. Maybe not religion like yours is, but government in itself is a cult following, a cult worship. It's just a different type. They just love to kiss the boot from government, from man, where you love to kiss the boot from these archons, from these principalities that rule from the dark side, from behind the shadows. And you've all been tricked. So of course you've been conditioned to believe that the Tower of Babel story was a great win for God against these evil humans, just like the flood, right? Wiping out millions of humans, men, women, and children. And God said, well, they were all corrupt. Absolutely every single person was corrupt, except this one family that he chose to carry on humanity. I guess you guys are okay with that genocide and such. I mean, I guess we're seeing that right now, in current events and news. Well, the reason I get so upset with you on the right is because I believe you guys can wake up. I believe that You can see this if you take the time. People on the left, yes, there are some good people on the left too that are not for all this. And they are against war, and they're for freedom, and they're for unity. And the reason I don't talk about people on the left as much, well, obviously, anything you talk about people on the left, it's highly censored. You could basically say whatever you want about people on the right, and social media and such leaves you alone. But as soon as you talk about their little sheepfold, their little group of manipulated, minions, their little group of their protected sheep, oh, they definitely will shut you down then. They don't want that. So I hope that explains, folks, where I'm coming out on that. And as you know, I walk the middle path, the middle road. I don't polarize to the far right or the far left. I understand that to find understanding and enlightenment in this realm, you must walk the middle path and find balance between your own left and right polarity, between your darkness and light. I'm not saying to go do sin and do evil. What I mean by that is you have to understand that we all take on a shadow side, a dark side when we come into this realm. It's part of the rules. And most of your life you try to overcome that dark side because it pushes your animal instincts. It tries to push you away from your divinity, away from the light within you. It tries to darken and cover the light. And you must learn how to understand and see what your dark side is, accept it for what it is, and then you must overcome it and defeat it, folks. But you cannot know the darkness and how to defeat it if you will not look into the darkness and walk into the darkness and see it for what it really is. And most people will not do that. And it's hard, I get it, trust me. We've all battled addictions. We've all battled sin. We've all done this, folks. It don't matter left or right. We all have. Right and left just happen to look at it from a different perspective. But what's so important, folks, is that on the other side, they tell us that this is the most exciting time to be on earth. That this culmination, this end of this theater, of this play, of this movie, of this game is about to take place. Now, that doesn't mean that the game or the movie doesn't go on. It just means that this is a crescendo to this earth age. It's the end of this earth age and the transition into a new one. Now, the question is, what side are we going to play in this grand play? Are we going to allow them to push this transhumanism slavery on us? Are we going to allow them to create a matrix within this matrix? I mean, we're already in the realm of the demiurge now. We're already in the matrix. And most of you worship the God of this of this realm. And you'll say, oh no, I worship the Father in heaven. No, you don't, because the Old Testament God that you think is the Father of Yeshua, you think he explains how he walked the earth, how he followed the Hebrews out of Egypt, how he was hiding in bushes and in clouds. And a lot of that was symbolic, folks. It was called a spaceship. It was called a aerial vehicle that he was following the Hebrews out of Egypt, dropping manna from, like food rations and such. Oh yes, the Bible has many instances of extraterrestrial contact, of warring gods, of high technology, of flying devices. So does the Book of Enoch. You just chose to ignore all that and pretend it's a metaphor. It's all in there. Just like you like to pretend that jealous God that wiped out humanity, that killed millions, that directed his armies to slaughter and kill other city-states and groups and races of people. You believe that was a good guy. But it's because you were programmed to believe that that's the good guy. You couldn't, I mean, you're looking at literally the face of evil there, and you were pretending like that's the good guy because Pastor Dan told you so. And you chose not to do your own research. You chose not to understand that, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. The Elohim. Elohim is plural. It is not singular. It is not the creator of all. They told you to your face that we were manipulated by entities, by, I don't care what you call them, watchers, fallen angels, by the Anunnaki, possibly the Atlanteans. But you were manipulated and you fell for it. And you don't want to accept that because, you know, instead of learning the truth and seeing through the lies and growing and finding enlightenment, you would rather stay asleep. And folks, I'm not talking to you all that understand this stuff. I'm talking to you, the few possibly that are even listening to me to this point, with somewhat of an open mind, but yet your own programming is battling within you right now, and you're saying that I'm blaspheming your God, and he's the only one, he's the only salvation, and this and that. That was Yeshua, you know, and that's his father, and the Trinity, and all this BS. No, folks, you were just tricked. You were tricked to worship the demiurge. And it's quite obvious. If you've actually studied the Old Testament, it is quite obvious. I mean, heck, he didn't even like his own followers. He sent them into slavery with the Babylonians and the Assyrians multiple times. Oh, because they sinned. They whored after other gods. Oh, yes. And as you know, well, most of you don't know, that Yahweh character that you all think so highly of, who's Enlil in the Sumerian pantheon, he's not even the Most High. The Most High El Elyon is Anu, their father of Enki and Enlil. Well, that wonderful Enlil character, he was a Canaanite storm god. That the oldest description of Yahweh is as a Canaanite storm god, and his wife was Asherah. That was his consort. Oh, and of course, the Trinity, right? There is no females that are gods. There's no powerful spiritual creator that's a female. No, man. What are you talking about? It's only males. Females were evil, right? Eve. Only male angels. No, not female angels. No. Folks, have you ever thought about how ridiculous that is? Absolutely ridiculous. Think about it. The only way to portal into this realm is through the female birth canal. Females are the portal, but yet females are evil, according to you and your book. At least those that believe that BS. You know, yes, this is the males were the truth, the Father and the Son, and, and this magical Holy Spirit that is God's spiritual essence, I guess. I guess that's how Christians believe that. Well, what does that make the Yahweh character, the Father? That makes him like a physical being, perhaps? I mean, think about this, folks. Well, people that have actually researched this stuff understand, it's not hard to understand, that the Comforter is the Mother, is the Divine Feminine. The Holy Spirit is the Mother. Who comforts you most? Your mother. Oh yeah, there's some dads out there that could be comforters too. But essentially, the mother has always been the comforter. They're the ones who swaddle you as a baby. They bring you into this realm. They're the first ones holding you, and you're suckling, milk from your mother. She gives you sustenance from the minute you exit the portal into this realm. And your Old Testament was designed to hate women. It was a masculine-dominated book. In fact, women were considered property in the Old Testament. And most of your heroes there, Abraham and such, they all had hundreds of wives. David and Saul and all these characters in the Old Testament, man. I mean, they're just all fantastic dudes, right? According to you. Well, I don't think you've really critically read the Old Testament, because if you did, you would understand that it was a war going on between demigods on the earth. Let's just call them characters that claim to be God, who were not God, who were liars from the beginning, ruled over by their demiurge of this realm. And they've all been here tricking you. Because they manipulated a book that you all believe is the truth. And most of you, trust me, I got family members this way. All they research is the Bible. That is it. The Bible is the only truth, the only path. And yet, all you'd have to do is read, the Atrahasis, the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and a few other cuneiform tablets, and you would quickly realize that the Bible was an adaptation off of much older texts. The Sanskrit included and the Egyptian included. And that's all the Hebrews did, or the so-called Hebrews, these Judeans, we'll call them. While they were in captivity in Babylon, they had access to these massive cuneiform libraries. And their scribes, the Levites, the priest class, the scribe class of the Judeans, had direct access to these cuneiform tablets. And they were probably taught how to read them, and they were taught by the Babylonian priest class and scribes, about these stories. And around the mid, maybe around, 500 BC on, roughly give 100 years or take 100 or give 100 years, these Hebrew scribes, these Levites, were writing their book. They were writing down their history, their I don't know what you want to call it, their story. And they wrote themselves in as the good guys in this grand saga. And to this day, they are still, let's say that they wholeheartedly believe in racial inequality, if you get my meaning there, because this is all a very touchy subject. But they've tricked y'all into worshiping their storm god, Yahweh. And it's interesting that he was a storm god, because Enlil, the Sumerian Enlil, who was in the Garden of Eden, he was called the god of the air. You'll know him as Zeus. You'll also know him as Ahura Mazda in the Zoroastrian faith. The dude flying around in the spaceship that looks like has eagle wings to represent its flight, and directing the armies below, the Assyrian armies who were capturing, other foreign lands and their people and enslaving them. There's a very famous carving in a rock in Iran, and it's got this Ahura Mazda character flying over groups of people chained together as slaves, and they're being led by these characters that are almost twice the height of these slaves. And that's your wonderful Yahweh, folks. Such a fantastic God, a God of slavery, of abuse of women, a God that sees women as nothing more than property, that believes in, how fantastic it is to have hundreds of concubines and to commit war, genocide on a daily basis, basically. Kill every man, woman, child, and animal. I mean, there ain't nothing, there is no righteousness found in this city. Yeah. Do you guys really believe all this, man? Think about it. That's how they view you. Look at the elite right now, how they would easily wipe all of us out if they could. They hate us. And you look at these old stories about war, go murder all these, go wipe out the Philistines, go wipe out these guys, go wipe out those guys. Oh yeah, that's a loving God that they had to kill the Nephilim. Folks, if you read the Sumerian tablets, you'll realize that even your Noah character was a demigod. It tells you in the book of Enoch. He was a demigod. In the Atra Hasis, it tells you, it explains all this. How Enki, the serpent, went to Noah and told him how to build the ark, how to build this boat to save people with the flood coming. And it was his brother Enlil, your hero Yahweh, who was sending the flood. And he didn't want humanity to know it was coming. So his brother snuck behind his back and warned humanity. Well, it's also interesting to note that Noah's father thought, Lamech, thought that Noah was one of the shining ones, one of the Anunnaki, because he had these bright eyes and this ruddy light skin and this blonde hair and such. And they, and these are, you're talking about dark-haired people, Semites, and he was afraid that his wife had slept with an angel, with one of these Anunnaki. Of course, you all believe still that angels are these floating beings, that are that, can take on the form of a man to sleep with a woman. No, folks, they were people. They were humanoids. That's why they could sleep with women. It's time to smarten up, people. It's time to wake up. Because we are coming into a culmination of this time, and it's time that we all have our wits about us, and we start putting aside these fairy tales and start learning about the truth of all this. It's all in front of our faces. You just choose not to research it. I've never told you that I have all the answers. All I've ever tried to get you guys to do is research. And in this day and age, that is like the hardest thing to do. It's like trying to get your kids to do chores. They just won't do it. They'd rather live in a filthy pigsty room with food rotting on the ground and other stuff, their clothes all over stinking, because that's how, kids are, if you don't force them to do stuff. Well, I can't force you guys to do anything. I would love that you all just go and start researching these tablets and ancient books, and then you would find what I found. But most of you won't do it because Pastor Dan told you go to hell if you read, cuneiform and such, because that was the devil trying to trick you. Yes, cuneiform tablets that are 3,500 years old, older than your oldest Hebrew text, is evil and trying to trick you. Well, Satan, don't you understand? Satan can do everything. He's everywhere. Trust me, I have a family member that believes this BS. He only believes the Bible is the only truth, and he will not read anything else. And all he tells me is like, well, don't you understand that all that stuff you talk about was just the devil? The devil was trying to trick everybody, and he wrote all those cuneiform tablets. I told him one time, I said, oh, so you mean he wrote millions of cuneiform tablets just to trick people in the future? Even though most of those tablets have been destroyed or are still buried, most of them haven't been translated yet because there's so many of them in back rooms and in museums all over the world. But he did all that just to trick us, right? Yeah. I mean, come on, folks. It's time to wake up. I would say that the devil tricked all y'all into reading his books and believing in his books, in his Quran, in his Old Testament. And even the New Testament was highly manipulated by Constantine in the Council of Nicaea. Most of you don't even understand how many books were not included or taken out of the Bible. The Book of Enoch was probably one of the most important one, and the reason being is because the Book of Enoch's all about this contact of humanity with these higher beings that taught humanity the skills to build civilization, which is the exact same stories in the Sumerian cuneiform. It's time to wise up, folks. It really is. This is, we're coming to this time here, and we're already enslaved, but they're ready to put bigger shackles on us here with transhumanism. And we've got to wake up, because if you really care about your children and your grandchildren, it's time to wise up, folks. It's time to wake up, and we need to start working together, right and left. Fix the divide. We are all brothers and sisters from the same source. We all come from the same place. So anyways, you know me, I get a little harsh sometimes. It's because, it is a little frustrating, but I wish you all the best. And I know a lot of you that have followed me for a while are wise to all of this stuff. and some of you are maybe just checking me out for the first time, and I probably offended you, and you know, I'm sorry. I got to speak my truth. It comes straight from the heart, straight from the spirit, and I know, I may not know everything, but I know what I'm telling you is truth. So I've done the research. I just want you to. So, hey, anyways, guys, I got to go. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you later.